Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Sid Part 2, joining me today is...
What's up? I'm that Matt kid.
And I am a geek for fun.
And it's become a meme in the Discord server that everyone else has a cool video intro and Matt is just there.
I thought about shooting a new one, and every time I get really lazy and then don't.
Okay. Well, at this point it's a meme, so now that door is closed, so there you go.
Oh, damn it. Well, can you just, like, add some flames or something? Just to make it more dynamic.
Okay, alright, I'll see what I can do.
There you go.
Just put, like, fucking the Ed 209 from RoboCop in there, and you're just talking over it.
There you go.
Anyway, so today we're here to review a musical. I've just been in a mood lately, apparently, for musicals and stuff. I know the reason is because I've found this YouTuber that does a lot of covers of different songs, and a lot of them happen to be from musicals, so I've just been kind of going down a rabbit hole. And one of her covers was of a song from this musical. The musical is called Six. It is about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and it is, trying to shed a more sympathetic light onto these women than they traditionally get. It's trying to take a little more complex view. It's doing something that I like, that musical. Like, usually if I like a musical, it has to be kind of tongue-in-cheek. I don't really go for, like, ultra-serious drama musicals very often. But, I mean, I think this is interesting because obviously it comes out in a post-Hamilton world, and it's hard to imagine that this would have gotten any ground without Hamilton pre-existing, but this is obviously a little more tongue-in-cheek than Hamilton is. And I just, I heard a cover of one of the songs from this, and then I heard another cover and another, and then I just decided to do a deep dive and found the musical and wanted to talk about it because this shit been living in my head for the last couple weeks. Like, I legitimately thought about, like, oh, I'll just save this and we'll talk about it during History Month, but, like, no. Like, I know the words to at least one of the songs at this point, so I need to talk about this and get it out of my head. So that's where we are. How about you guys? How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we did Jesus Christ Superstar not that long ago, so I guess we are just kind of on a musical kick. Now, this is actually a musical that... So I have a friend who's very much into musical theater, and I was a musical theater kid in high school. Like, I did a lot of musical theater in high school. I did a lot of drama and stuff like that. And she has been kind of raving about this musical a lot lately. And so this is the first time I've really sat down and listened to it. And it does kind of that, like, anachronistic thing. There's a musical I really like called Mythic. It's a little bit of a smaller musical, but it also kind of does that, like, an anachronistic storytelling where they talk about, like, texting and DMs, even though the traditional way to tell the story would not involve those things, and I do kind of like that. But, if I'm being honest, overall, this is one of those things where I can't really point to anything and say this was badly done or this was incompetently written or anything like that. There's nothing here that I think is awful, but as a piece, I mostly didn't really care for this.
Okay, all right. Alfie as the Brit here, and this is your people's history. What do you think?
Well, first of all, the entire world is our people's history for the glory of the Empire. So, like, again, I made this clear last time. I feel so bad. I don't know. It's just such a thing because I have no objective thing, but like, I just not the music. My brain just doesn't work. I guess. But like, first thing I want to give this is I had trouble at first with how I watched this, obviously because there's no public thing. It was like a YouTube recording that was sent anonymously by some kind backer. But then the quality on it wasn't the best.
I mean, for a Broadway filming thing, it's pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But just like generally time speaking, so that doesn't help I have trouble hearing things when the songs start. So I had to really think. But then after that, just to make sure, I then went on Spotify and like when I was drawing, I had the songs and the whole thing just playing, just because I did want to make sure that I could talk about it and listen to it and give it like the fairest shake I could. And I felt like it was catchy and fun, and I like the conceit of it is clever because like the whole the Six Wives of Henry VIII is one of those historical things that for some reason just kind of exists in this weird kind of everyone knows about it and everyone gets taught it at a certain age, and it's like this little easy in, I think, into the concept of the monarchy because it's such a tropey thing that of course happened. It's just to such an extreme. Many things like this have happened over the course of history, but like Henry VIII's Six Wives is like the premier example of this, and women's relationships as political marriages and the idea of an heir, and it's wrapped into a lot of things, so it makes sense as a historical thing to teach the children young because it gives them a good basis for a lot of other things. And having 6 different memorable stories is kind of fucked up. There's mostly death and abuse of women, but it's like and quite graphically, but like it's still a good thing to do. So I mean that makes sense. I like the idea of that. This is them getting to have a contest between each other of using their stories and kind of that thing. Well, my one's more fucked up, or my one's like this. And I think that's a good way of having like a song off, like a kind of thing. And by the end as well, I like the direction it took there. But just in terms of like keeping me or as a piece, I did find that this was a good length, because if this was any longer, I think it really would have lost me. But there's not much here outside of the retellings of the song, and that's fine because that's what it is. I just don't kind of get why, because as I was listening to it on the album, just like, oh, well, why was this like a stage musical? Because there's not a lot of like, because I was thinking there's not a lot of stage things happening.
Well, I mean, they frame it intentionally as a concert, and they use that as the conceit of them, deciding who's going to be the lead singer. Also, one of the more, I mean, it's not subtle because it's kind of obvious and hits you over the head with it, like when you make the connection, but they don't say it directly in the piece. Each queen is modeled after a different pop star, as far as their appearance and the song style. So like Catherine of Aragon is modeled after Beyonce, Jane Seymour is modeled after Adele, and Catherine Howard is modeled after Ariana Grande and Britney Spears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say in a lot of ways, when I talk to people who just don't like musicals, a lot of times it's the sort of going back and forth between speaking and then characters randomly breaking into song in a lot of ways, I feel like this is almost a good musical to recommend for people who don't like musicals, because I do think the conceit of it is just a show that they're all putting on, and the only really conversations that are happening are almost like in between song banter that you get at like concerts. So I do think that conceit would help anyone who just like their brain doesn't click for musicals, and I know plenty of people who are like that. The way that they're all modeled after different pop stars, I like that in theory, but that's one of the things that caused it to fall flat for me, because I thought most of the... Because, you know, I like, for example, on All You Want to Do, which is sung by the woman who's modeled after kind of Ariana Grande, Britney Spears. Like, that's one of the ones where I'm just like, I hear that chorus and I'm like, yes, that is an early 2000s Britney Spears chorus. That is exactly the type of sound. But then you listen to, like, Don't Lose Your Head, and they're like, oh, this is kind of Lily Allen by way of girlfriend era Avril Lavigne, and it just kind of loses me. I don't think it works that well. And
see, I like Don't Lose Your Head a lot. that's the one I know the words to.
And that's fair. That's fair.
Geeky Gentlemen cover?
Oh yeah.
You guys could be the chorus girls. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I like Don't Lose Your Head a lot. That's the one that, like, the Dead Wives songs are all the best, which is really funny that it works out that way. I don't know. This does a lot of things that I really like. It does the anachronisms. I like that stuff a lot. That you have Anne Boleyn saying stuff like, you know, oh, messaging me like every day. Like, that's adorably hilarious to me, because like historians hate that shit. They like, no, you can't put stuff in a modern context. It's not the same. I'm like, it's all the fucking same. People haven't changed for shit, and you know it. Just stop. So I really like that, just that attitude it has. But then, like, to me, Don't Lose Your Head's easily one of the best songs, because, like, to me, you can sell the entire musical on this, because, like Alfie was saying earlier, everyone kind of knows the gist of the story of Henry VIII and his 6 wives, that he divorced some and beheaded others. I think Jane Seymour is the exception to that people probably don't know about all that well. But like, everyone knows the gist of that. And then so to give Anne Boleyn, the person who's most famous in the world for being beheaded, a song called Don't Lose Your Head is about the funniest shit in the world to me. Like, I find that just so amusing, and I've just been, you know, I've been like just mentioning it to people or thinking about it. I'm like, that just might be about the funniest joke in the world. The idea of Anne Boleyn saying "Don't lose your head" is hysterical to me.
Yeah, I think some of the concepts, like that idea, like that is pretty funny on the face of it. I think my problem is a lot of the moment-to-moment joke writing just doesn't hit for me. This is probably the most subjective thing I'm about to say, but when I started listening to this, and when you get to Don't Lose Your Head, and like 30 seconds in, it's the year of our Lord 2021, and I have to hear a punchline that's epic fail. Like, and a lot of the in-between song banter, and I do apologize, this is going to be the most subjective thing I've ever said. This is just like Glee-ass musical theater kid humor, and I've seen too much Star Kid, and I've been around musical theater people too long. Most of this does not hit for me. Most of the individual jokes I find eye-rolling, not funny. And that could just be me just very not into the type of humor that they are trying to portray with the individual jokes. I don't know. Some of it hits. I think House of Holbein is like a top-tier shitpost of a song, and I love it. So some of it definitely hits. And her going around in between every song and being like, oh yeah, no, that does sound hard. I mean, not as hard as getting your head cut off, but you know, it sounds hard. Like, some of it definitely hits. But I think one of my biggest issues with it was that the comedy was it either hit okay or I found it really eye rolling. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a totally subjective thing. So I'm not going to necessarily say you shouldn't go check it out. It's just the comedy didn't really hit for me a lot of the time.
I mean, yeah, you're right. That's definitely a subjective thing, so I won't give you too much shit for it. I think, like, the comedy here did hit really well for me. I was joking with Alfie the other day that I realized I was destined to be a high school mean girl, and it just didn't happen that way. Because, like, the fact that they're just all so fucking catty with each other is just absolutely hilarious to me. Like, when you get to Catherine Howard about to do her song, and everyone's like, oh yeah, she's the one no one cares about and stuff. And then she just goes around the room and talks like, oh yeah, you guys' lives were really hard. Or your guys' lives were just awful. And your songs really help to show that. Like, that's just really funny to me. And then she goes through and just all of it's like, Catherine of Aragon almost getting sent to a nunnery, but then not. That could have been really hard for you. Like, that's just a really good, catty, witty-ass line that I just really, really enjoy. So when she's going around doing all that, and I guess I like the juxtaposition of a lot of the humor in it, because, like, all right, you mentioned House of Holbein, and I think that's a really good example of, yeah, it's a shit post, it's being all like goofy, and you know they've got the bad German accents and the like fucking black lights on the stage and stuff. But then like the stuff they're talking about is like legitimately things that people did to try to be beautiful back in the Middle Ages. Like, oh yeah, well, you want blonder hair? Don't worry, we'll piss in it. Like, that's just really, really funny. But it's a juxtaposition because of the truth, and I don't know, I find that interesting how that is paralleled with the modern day, because I've looked into a little bit of this because I was curious about how much of it, anytime there's anything historical like this and I'm not super well read on, I try to find out just a little bit of information, and along the way of doing that, I found out some of the goals of the writer of this. And she's, considers herself a feminist, and so she wanted to do a play that was female-focused and helped highlight or give more depth to historically downtrodden or historically ignored women. And so I think that plays really well with House of Holbein as like a commentary on like the things that women had to suffer through. Oh yeah, walk in these heels. We can't promise that you'll be able to walk at 40, but walk in them now and it'll get you the man. And that's like, boy, how times have changed. So shit like that I found really, really fascinating. Her research on this is, fudged a couple details here and there, but within the bounds of artistic license, where I don't think like you're just making shit up, So I got a lot of respect for that. And then there's just, again, complexity to things. So the song that I heard that got me into this musical at first was the cover of All You Want to Do, which is the Catherine Howard song. And I fully admit, like most people, most of what I knew about Catherine Howard was she was one of Henry VI's wives, and she's one of the ones that got beheaded, right? Like that, if you'd asked me beforehand, Catherine Howard, from medieval times. Okay. I probably wouldn't have even known her by name. So, like, that's all I really knew about her. And then you get this song, and if it's funny that after her they have to change the rules of the competition because she very clearly wins, with the like horrible life she had being like passed around. So like looking into her actual history, this is a detail that they didn't put in the play, but I feel is kind of jaw dropping, really helps to sell the point that they're making. When she died, 19.
Oh, damn.
Right? Yeah, so like the way in which she is portrayed as being sexually victimized by man after man after man, and thinking that that's just her place and that this means that like I'm in love and everything. And the Henry Maddox and Frances Durham, actual people in her life, like that. It's not fudge details. It's the research proves out that all of this actually happened. And it's just so fucking sad. And so when you look at other portrayals of Catherine Howard, however, she's like, the fact that she was killed for promiscuity is like played up as, no, she's really slutty. So this is like a take that is very sympathetic to her and looks into that. So I thought it was, I thought like it's a rousing success in that regard. But I also think that when it is trying to go for comedy, I feel it strikes a really good balance, and the comedy that it did really hit for me just about every time. I guess, like, I spent time in musical theater and stuff too, but I guess not as much as you, so maybe it just hit better for me.
Possible. And I'm not saying that every joke missed or anything like that. There are just enough jokes that made me roll my eyes a little bit that I just couldn't. There was never like a solid unbroken string of jokes that was just like yes. But there were definitely some jokes in there that hit. I think the ones you were mentioning were actually some of the best ones for sure. Yeah. The almost getting sent to a nunnery and then not. That one was probably one of the funnier ones for me. A lot of it for me was, I thought some of the individual songs were solid. A lot of them just are like I'm listening to, what is it, Heart of Stone, and I'm just like, this is clearly doing Adele, but it's not. I don't know. It's hard for me. I feel like doing pastiches of all these different stars. You get kind of two things with that. So, like, you get the wives competing against each other in this sort of pseudo popularity, who had the worst life contest, and then by mimicking and sort of drawing inspiration from modern real life pop divas and celebrities, you're also kind of lampooning the way that we in the modern day culture sort of put these women in our pop culture against each other in a similarly competitive way that's probably not super healthy as a society. So I do think that having those two things as sort of a parallel does work. But I find that most of the pastiches just... I'm struggling because I don't want to say they don't do the original artist justice, because they're not really trying to. They're doing it more as a parody. But I listen to Heart of Stone, and I'm just like, I'd rather be listening to Adele. Like, I just don't think most of the songs hit for me super hard is part of the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because to me, once I found that out, I'm kind of like, man, it would actually be really cool to get a film version of this where you just get these people.
That would be cool, yeah.
I don't know, like, it probably would never happen because, like, the idea of Beyonce being told, okay, you get, like, one song, and then you sing backup for the rest, and she'd be like, no. But...
I don't know, Beyonce was in the fucking Steve Martin Pink Panther movie. You could probably... I think you could probably work something.
That was, like, so long ago. It's not even, like, the level of fame that she has reached since then.
It's a large part of my childhood and literally the only thing I can think of right on the moment. So.
You know she was in Austin Powers 3, yeah?
I have not seen the Austin Powers movies in a very long time, man.
Okay. I think she's, like, actually 19 when she was in that film, which is ridiculous.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. Alfie, where are you coming down on stuff here? You're doing that thing where, like, oh, I'll just fade into the background and be quiet, and then they'll forget I'm here.
My cunning ruse. Well, like, I'm kind of in the middle between you and Matt, where I agree on the sense that, like, the epic fail thing did stand out to me as like, okay, that's a choice. But I think it's cute that they're treating it with kind of that emotional realism by bringing it with those modern anachronisms. I didn't necessarily find it funny, but I did find it I think it's a good choice, because kind of the thing that happens when you do historical things that I think in a post-Hamilton world is important that people kind of realize is people pay too much attention to the historical aspect of it, in the sense of like the costumes and how people talk, and kind of like there's like a detachedness from it when you actually set it in period fully. Like a lot of people don't really, and I was included in this, but they don't really appreciate Shakespeare because it's kind of got that distance from how you understand real people to talk, until you can kind of get into the headspace and kind of see from what he's actually doing. But like, oh no, this still hits. This is still really good emotional character writing, because like you said, Ian, people don't change. So I think the idea of like doing it with a more modern portrayal of the characters and letting them speak closer to how pop culture songs do these days is a smart choice to letting the actual deeds and acts and emotions of the characters shine through, rather than the novelty if they try to do it a little bit closer to period. So I think that does work. I think the writing is fine, and there's some good lines here and there, but it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing where I like had a massive laugh, or I was kind of struck by anything. I thought it was just, again, it was well written and serviceable, but something I'm already kind of forgetting as it was. So I feel I'm in the middle between the two on that one, at least.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Totally fair.
Yeah. I don't know what I expected. Like, I certainly, like, I was like, I'm probably putting myself in a bad place. But, like, there's just so much interesting here that I just, like, you just get it in your head and just want to talk about it. So, it's fine.
To be fair, there's probably a lot more to, like, I don't know much about the history of Henry and his many wives. Like, it's not a topic that I am familiar with in really any way. And it's kind of fun the way that they lean into that. How some of the some of his wives are less well known than others, and really there's only one that's kind of hugely famous. And so it's cool to me that you can watch this or listen to this and come away with a reasonably accurate, albeit over the top and kind of told in a very anachronistic way, the basics of sort of the stories of these women. So I think in that regards, it is a success for sure. I think it's very much a success in what it sets out to do, and I do applaud it for that. It's just it doesn't hit for me on a taste level, I suppose.
I think that's fair. Yeah, you're definitely right. Like, because this, I like the anachronisms because it gives you the chance to, like, make really great points that you just couldn't, like, in the day-to-day. Because in their intro song, where they're going over who each of them are, and Anne Boleyn comes out, and the very first thing she says is, "I broke England from the church, yeah, I'm that sexy." So I remember at one point at work, and I assume this is one of those things that just goes around and everyone kind of gets asked it eventually, that you've been asked the question, like, okay, if you could sleep with any historical figure, who would it be? And, like, I don't remember who I said previously, but, like, upon reflecting on that one, yeah, you gotta pick Anne Boleyn. Like, the motherfucker started a religion over some pussy, dude. Like, that shit's gotta hit, right? Like, that's just, goddamn. And it's funny because so one of the things I remember when learning about Henry VIII was, oh, everyone acts like he did it for love of Anne Boleyn, but, like, really, when you think about it, look at what a great political move this was for him, because he gets all this church land, and I'm like, yeah, I can maybe buy that if he just stopped after her, but, like, this dude just kept going. This is a horny motherfucker. I'm pretty sure he just really wanted to fuck Anne Boleyn, dude. Like, it's kind of fun to get that perspective on it. It's something I've never really... I cannot tell you before watching or hearing this the last time I thought of Henry VIII. Like, It's just...
Yeah.
I think the last time I thought of Henry VIII before this was from that one YouTube singer, Boy in a Band, where he made the song talking about all the useless shit that we learn in school. It's like, I know how many wives Henry VIII had, but not how to do my own taxes. I'm like, yeah, yeah. So like it's shit like that is just, it's funny and it's historically fascinating. I like stuff like this where you do kind of get a better understanding of things. You kind of learn a little bit along the way, and it made learning fun. Okay, let me put it.
It was fun and informative in a really accessible way. Now, let's turn to our taste books.
Like, dude, I wish I was taking fucking high school history in this era where you got fucking this in Hamilton. That's a pretty good, like, legitimately engaging high school experience compared to some of the shitty fucking films I watched in high school history classes, you know? Like, shit. Like, if I were fucking in a high school history class right now, I'd 100% do a presentation on this fucking musical, dude. You could do a fucking paper on each song. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, there's at least, you're seeing kind of a more of a, it's not like the late 90s, 2000s approach of like, let's make history stuff for kids that's completely uncritical. Like, the recent boom of like historical look back things are at least attempting to look at those eras a little bit more critically and present them as they are with all their fucked up shit included, which is definitely good to see. And this hits harder as something that is skewering the fucked up shit of the time, for sure.
Alfie, like, I tried to get it out again, and I didn't get much, and I fear this is because it's probably one of those things that falls into the, Ian, all I know is comic books, Doctor Who, and the law. So I'm gonna ask again, how'd this do, like, as a British person, how'd this hit for you? What is the British perspective?
I didn't know these women, bro.
Yeah, but like this is like just one of those things of like this is actually your history. Is the British school teaching of the events of Henry VIII a little bit different? Like what's the British take on this?
It's basically the same because like the way I learned about it was through a song as well. There's a show in the UK called Horrible Histories, which is basically they do like songs of historical events in kind of like a tongue-in-cheek manner, and they did like the Six Wives of Henry VIII was a song, and that's how they taught you it. Like was the same thing anyway. So like this isn't that revelatory or like a wild different take on it. It's just like CBBC did it, like then I watched the Sarah Jane Adventures, like it's not. So again, I don't, and it's not a. It's I get why, like I said in when we opened this, like why this is a thing that people talk about and why this is kind of a good thing for it. But just speaking personally in terms of history, I don't really care. Like it's like it's Henry VIII and monarchs fucked around, and they were bastards, and like all this kind of happened. It's okay. Like moving on. Like I don't have any attachment to it, and never have. I'm not that invested in like the plights and the tales and stuff like that. It seems like again, it's I like the idea at the end where we get to have them basically revise the stories. Like they get to make their own endings, and they get to say, why do we have to be known as Henry VIII's Six Wives when we could just do our own thing and be known for our own deeds and what we accomplished as individuals, which I think is a really good message to send, and I think it's a good way to kind of combat the name of the musical itself and also kind of the expectation people have and the way people talk about women through historical works is normally in relation to a man or in some sense, because again, the way history taught is very misogynist and just in general, and not giving anyone a newsflash there on that one. But yeah, so I like that of itself, but just as a Brit, as a person, I legit have no more attachment or any less to this than you would. Like it's kind of,
I don't know. I was wondering if there's like British perspectives on the monarchy or send-ups in here that work better for you.
Well, there are, but like you're talking to like the worst, like most I'm not British, don't associate with these people, like traitor to the crown you'll ever meet, Ian. So
Fair enough. I don't know. It's just you're definitely right. I like the tone it takes. I also like the kind of inversion that it does at the end, where like the idea is these women have no importance outside of being married to Henry VIII. But like I kind of like the point that it makes is people wouldn't really talk about Henry VIII anymore if not for the fact that he had 6 wives. And like the only other like noteworthy thing he did was in relation to one of those 6 wives. You know, I find that to be a really fascinating inversion of the fact of it. So like from a very strong argument, these 6 women are more important than Henry VIII as far as like their effects or his effect or their effect on history, and why we know about them and stuff. I think that was I just thought that was a really interesting point to leave the inversion on. Yeah, and I do agree. I really like how this ends, because it does seem like it's kind of like going down a pretty dark and negative path, and it gets to its darkest place before it turns around with Catherine Howard's song. So I did really appreciate that. Fucking Anne of Claves also gets just a freaking awesome ass song that I quite enjoyed. It's one of those things where like I like her song a lot more seeing it with the audience and stuff there, and I imagine it'd be a lot more fun to be in the crowd with than I do when you just like listen to it on its own. The fact that it's like a fucking club banger is really cool.
Yeah. Now, I mean, did you listen to this on Spotify also? Because there's obviously some of the cast, or I think all the cast is different between the video we had and the cast recording on Spotify.
Yeah, I've listened. I didn't listen to Spotify. I've watched a number of animatics of the like official cast recording though.
Some of this, I feel like, okay, so like Don't Lose Your Head, it's probably, at least based on streams, it's the most popular song. So like that one, and you know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm getting too stuck in the whole like pastiche angle of this musical, but that's one of the more interesting parts of it to me. Like that's why I think Joseph is really cool, because like Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, it's doing pastiches of different genres, and I think that's a really cool thing to do with the musical. And so the fact that they kind of do that,
shit, are we gonna have to talk about Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat next?
Please don't make me. I swear to God, I am choosing the next fucking musical. Y'all are gonna listen to Spring Awakening, and you will fucking like it. Anyways, but like,
Geeky
so
Gentlemen,
the
musical
Spotify.
Wars. Sorry.
I swear to God, I will make you listen into Spring Awakening and Sweeney Todd, and you will like it. But like, so like, Don't Lose Your Head. They're doing like Lily Allen, and when you listen to the Spotify version and it's got that singer that has that very like noticeable British accent, then you're just like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. That's Lily Allen, and I totally get what you're going for. And then when you listen to it in the cast version on the video that we saw, she doesn't have that same like super thick, like in your face British accent that like Lily Allen has, at least early Lily Allen. And so it doesn't like hit as much. Not that I don't like the actress who plays her in the video. I think she's good, and I think she has her own, you know, things. But I think certain things hit harder on the cast recording than they do on the video. But that could also be because the video's not in like super great quality either.
I think that's fair.
I was just curious if there were any differences that you that you picked up on?
I think the original cast recording versus because what we watched was a Broadway recording, because this initially ran in the UK, then crossed overseas, and then COVID hit and it had to shut down.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's elements I like from both. I think the original cast's version of Don't Lose Your Head is probably the better version, because it just comes across like that British accent being really thick in it, and the just the delivery is a lot more in that kind of Mean Girl style compared to the actress in the Broadway version, who I think is just like, what's the line? Politics, not my thing, is a moment that really stuck out to me, because the Broadway actress just like sounds like, no, I'm just having fun, whereas the cast recording, or the original cast, is like, it's very much like a, oh no, ew, like kind of reaction to the idea of politics. And I think that does sell better. So yeah, I would agree that I think Don't Lose Your Head hits a little bit better. Though I will say, I think All You Want to Do, I liked the Broadway actress a lot more than I liked the original recording.
I've only listened to the Broadway or the original cast recording of All You Want to Do like once or twice. So I'm not remembering or no, other way around. I've only watched the video once, and I've listened to the Broadway or the original recording a couple times. I'm not remembering the specific differences, but yeah, I know some of them I thought were better on one versus the other. Not like hugely. I mean, I think both casts did a really good job with the material for the most part.
Yeah, like I like the Catherine of Aragon, the No Way version from the Broadway play more. I don't know how I feel about the last song. Or not the last song, the last Queen's song.
The fucking Alicia Keys out song. Yeah.
I don't know, that one I'm kind of on the fence about. Same with the like Jane Seymour song. Those are kind of up in the air for me. It's hard to imagine that the Get Down works better on like studio recording than it does with an audience. Like that one just, I don't think it fucking nails in the audience.
I don't think it does. And here's the thing about Get Down that I think is interesting. So this musical, it does something that it pulls from modern pop, and it pulls one of my least favorite little tiny things from modern pop, which is the like desire to self-censor swear words. So like instead of just saying bitch, it'll be like and it'll do that like fucking synth drop on the word, and I like literally every time I hear that, it grates me. Do that a couple times, but they don't do it on Get Down because it's a pun on like just actually like female dogs, and I think that's hilarious, because Get Down is the one where they're sort of doing a send-off to Nicki Minaj, and as a low-key like Nicki Minaj fan, I was just like, at least this one sounds a little bit more dangerous and intense. So I did appreciate that. Get Down didn't work for me super well when I listened to it in the cast recording, just because again, I try to listen to a lot of music, I keep up with a lot of these artists, and so I'm just like, yeah, this is just Nicki Minaj, but like not anywhere near the levels of like flow and danger that Nicki Minaj has. And then you listen to it with an audience on a stage, and you're just like, yeah, no, this kind of works. And the actress who does Get Down on the stage show, her performance is killer. Yeah, like I mean, she's great.
Yeah, no, she absolutely murders it. Like when they, again, because it's weird to like listen to Get Down with the studio version, because it's like the Take My Furs, and then there's like a beat pause, As You Were, whereas on the stage, like Take My Furs, and then they take the coat off her, and the audience just goes crazy for like a minute.
Yeah, that kind of shit's awesome.
Yeah, like that one just, it hits a lot better that way. Also, it's fun that she like started interacting with someone from the audience and shit like that. Like those are just the, that audience experience kind of thing is something I wish I could experience more often. But fucking theater tickets are expensive as shit.
They are.
Yeah.
That's always been my problem with Broadway, is that you can't be like overly transgressive because you still have to appeal to the types of people that can afford your fucking shows.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is like at the end of the Broadway, they actually have like an encore that's not on the cast recording, I don't think, where they just like do quick snippets of everyone's individual songs but kind of remixed and more up tempo and kind of like in a reclamatory, like reclaiming them sort of way. And I thought that was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a big fan of that. That's just kind of cool when you're like stringing.
You get the montage kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. There's actually a couple albums I can think of from bands who like they'll have songs in there where like they'll string lyrics and melodies from previous songs on the album together. And you see that on like certain concept albums and stuff like that. And I'm always down for that. And I always think that's fun. And I think it works doubly so because the whole idea is that they are reclaiming their stories, and so to then get those lyrics remixed in a more upbeat way, sung together rather than apart in competition, that's one of those things that works. And I kind of hate that Anne Boleyn has a super long supposed to be funny line calling attention to that's exactly what they're doing, because that line's really not funny, but whatever.
I like that one's hard for me because the audience is cheering so much. I don't think I even. Oh, you're talking about when she like does the whole big exposition thing. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Anne Boleyn just has a line where she's like, "Oh, so what we need to be doing is actually working together to show the patriarchy and all this stuff." And I'm just like, that's so like,
I don't know.
that's so obviously the point of the show, and that comes across as so like, I don't want to say pop feminist pandering because that makes me sound like a dick, but that's how it came across to me, and I just didn't care for it.
Okay, I would grant you that if not for the fact that I know audiences are stupid. And if you don't spell it out, then they won't get it.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. It's for a Broadway audience, and Broadway audiences are people who are like can fucking afford this shit, and you're not wrong. So that's fair. I'm just saying.
Alfie and I had like a long conversation about this a couple weeks back, where he's like, where all I have to do is say that doesn't work because the audience is stupid. And he's like, shit, I can't disagree with. I can't argue with that. It's just so true. So it's funny, but no, you're probably right. It doesn't need to be there. I like the Catherine Howard gets like 2 of those, and those are both hilarious to me when she does. Because like she gets one at the very beginning where like everyone's like, "Oh, who is most chaste shall win first place," and then it gets to Catherine Howard. She goes, "Women from 1522 to 1530 that were part of the British monarchy." Like that's just really good line delivery to me. I like gags like that. So I don't know. I guess a lot of it does just come down to taste and preference. And it's funny because I used to really consider myself as someone who doesn't like musicals, but now I'm doing all these videos with people who really don't like musicals. And I'm like, I guess I like musicals. I don't know.
I do like musicals. I'm just very, I don't know. I'm like obscenely picky. Maybe I just had I don't know. Like I look back at my like musical theater days and I'm like, man, I burned a lot of bridges. There are a lot of fake people in the musical theater world, man. I don't know. Because I do like musicals. I do. I'm just, I don't know. It takes a particular kind of musical to fucking please me. So that's
I like the way you said "please" me there, man.
You know, it's funny, man. You mentioned Lily Allen, who I didn't recognize the name off the top of my head, so I Google imaged her, and then I was like, oh shit, because the fucking actress from the original cast, it's like so apparent. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah. They are. Well, it's weird because she's got like, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like they're doing the attitude of like the writers credit it as like early career Lily Allen. And like she's got the attitude of early career Lily Allen, but Lily Allen's much more like kind of like she's not as in your face. So it's like it's Lily Allen if Lily Allen sung late career Avril Lavigne songs, and that's basically what it is. And that, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I just, some of the lines in that one were a little eye rolling to me. I mean, that's what a lot of it was. And I mean, that's ultimately the thing that held me back from like super digging it.
No, that's fair. Like, again, I think a lot of it just does come down to subjective taste and stuff. I think it's very well written. Like, Alfie has mentioned a couple times that he thought it's like mostly just serviceable and fine. I think it is actually really cleverly written. I think there's a lot of good gags and good character development and stuff in here that I think works really well. As you know, especially when you're doing anything historically, you're picking and choosing what to highlight, what to show, and I think this does a good job of that. Particularly because like some of these things don't seem like they could align really well with the goal. Like the fact that Catherine of Aragon's whole motivation is, I'm being cheated on, and he wants an annulment and to leave me, but I don't want to do that. Like, that's a really hard thing to make feminist. And I think that it picks an interpretation and sticks with it, and it does a really good job. And I think the Beyonce call there is actually legitimately clever. The Jan Seymour song as well is like just a very particular interpretation that probably, like, I think you would have a really hard time making that work. And I think it's just a really smart and clever choice of how to make that fit the story and the themes you're trying to tell here and talk about. Because the idea of feminism, like leaving behind the person who just wants to be a mother, is something that I don't think gets talked about enough, and so I think this is a smart way to highlight and show that. And again, I think Catherine Howard's probably the best treated out of all of these. I think she gets the most to do. I also really like the Anna of Claves. I think she just gets to be awesome, which is really fun. Like, oh my god, guys, I have the plague. What? Just kidding, my life's amazing. It's really, really funny. She's, of course, for what it's worth, she's the one married to Henry for the shortest amount of time. I think it's less than a year, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of funny that she just spends the rest of her life fucking being a badass. Is a pretty good way. So I don't know. I think there's some interesting and clever writing in that regard. I've always got like a huge respect for lyricism and doing a good job with just clever lyrics that are more than just ABC rhymes. And I think this does a pretty good job. Like even something as simple as that last song with the 5 more minutes. One of a kind, no category, too many years lost in stories. I like that way of getting to count to 6 and getting to play with that, and the fact that they do it without using one TWO THREE words is just, again, respectful. I'm impressed by that. So stuff like that's good.
Yeah, there's definitely some like strong lyricism that's like clever in that very like musical lyricism sort of way. And I think there's a lot of strong moments of that in here for sure.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of that just does really work for me. I don't know. And I guess I've run out of things to say. I thought it was very good. You two are objectively wrong, and I just think you hate women.
You're correct. That's correct. I do. So thank you for.
I don't get to talk about how I hate women enough, so let me go.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time.
Yeah, come on, Matt. Get on the soapbox and talk about men's rights. Come on, do it.
Oh my gosh! Fucking.
Here's the now's the moment.
It's your
Now's
chance.
the
Yeah.
time.
I'm gonna put my MRA agenda forward to the geeky. First of all, it's called the Geeky Gentlemen, not the Geeky Gentle People. So write that down. First of all, Jesus, fuck.
Okay.
I don't even know enough MRA talking points to lampoon them. Something men die in war. Something. Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I want to see the MRA, either the MRA attempt at 6.
I want to see the response to this. It's just like Henry VIII bitching about all of his different wives. Like it's a one-man show.
I mean,
and he's just like, oh, but she's mean, so I had her beheaded.
Yeah, I mean that works. It's kind of funny because it was like my head always goes to film. So when I was listening to this and watching it, I was like, man, if you were to do a film version, you could actually do some really cool stuff because the animatics for this are fucking tons of them that are worth checking out. The ones who Don't Lose Your Head are great. But like a lot of them will like put Henry on for just like the moments that he's mentioned, and they'll like black out the eyes because it's an intentional choice to remove him like as a physical presence from this. But I was sitting there like, oh man, you could do a really cool thing with this if you like, you'd have to film it multiple times, but you film one as like, just have it be the concert as it is. Just have your film actresses, Dreamcast it, get Adele, get Beyonce, yada yada. Put them on stage. And that's your one thing. And then like you shoot each story, each song like a music video, and then the movie is just like an hour and like 18-minute long music video that keeps cutting in and out of the concert and shit. That'd be fucking hype. I don't know what you'd do about like, because at that point you'd almost really need Henry there, and it might be weird to like black out his eyes the whole time, but like just be fucking cool. More stuff needs to be hour-long music videos, but not directed by Zack Snyder and pretending to be superhero movies. In this essay, I will. I lost a subscriber. I lost a subscriber the other night. A long-term Geeky Gentleman subscriber left a bunch of comments pissed off about me dunking on Zack Snyder's Justice League. And said that I can't. My favorite was, I can't believe I used to think you guys knew what you were talking about. I unsubscribed, and I was like, man, harsh.
Why do you like? That's like been your brand for like fucking over 5 years at this point.
That's the same energy as people who get mad when like Bad Religion put out an anti-alt-right song, and they're like, oh, I've been listening to you. I'm like, what did you think you were listening to? What did you think you were subscribed to?
It's just funny because like fucking
like before I turned on Zack Snyder, Steve always hated Zack Snyder's movies, so I don't know what he was here for. Like
I like it's just like, well, I guess he just watched 2013 Man of Steel initial thoughts and then dipped and came back and was shocked and appalled.
I guess. I don't know, it's one of those things. So I don't remember why I brought that up now, but I did. So there we go. It's on my head, I guess. I was deeply
something about
affected.
hour-long music videos.
Oh yeah, fucking Zack Snyder. If Zack Snyder could do just an hour-long music video and not pretend it's a superhero movie, maybe he would be a good director. Anyway, yeah, more hour-long music videos. More Pink Floyd's The Wall. More of that.
Melanie Martinez put one out a couple years ago, and it was not very good, but
well,
I would love to see more of it. It's always cool to see.
All right. Is there anything else we want to talk about with this thing? Any other lingering thoughts you just got to get out there?
I like the costume design.
Yeah, it's a cool look. I like the way that they integrate a crown onto all of them in different ways. I think that was good.
I like that they're able to make them all feel of a piece, but they're also able to draw very clear you obviously have like Ariana Grande's like signature like ponytail and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're able to make them all feel unique while also keeping that consistent theme throughout all of them. I think the costumes are pretty cool, and lend themselves to that whole, this is just one big concert that we're putting on.
Mm-hmm. And I like that, like, each of them get a colored theme. Again, all the fan-made animatics really fucking just dive into that. Like, all of Anne Boleyn's ones have, like, green as just the base color for the background of everything, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that, and anything that, like, puts them all together, they'll just draw all the queens as, like, this, you can tell who it is because this one's pink, you know, and I thought that was a cool choice. I also like that like, they've all got neckwear, but I like that Anne and Catherine Howard both have, like, a particular, like, choker necklace where their head was supposedly removed. I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, it's good stuff. All right, we'll go ahead and go on to ratings. I guess I'm curious to hear you two go first, just to see where you end up on it. So I guess we'll start with Alfie, since he's been the I'll just shut up so I don't appear that I hate women too mode.
Well, no, if this was about hating women, we'd have a much longer conversation, but I've been informed on multiple occasions to stay out of their business, so for legal reasons I can't partake. But yeah, outside of that, I didn't have nothing with this is inherently, the issues I have with it and stuff isn't inherently to it as a piece, so I feel really... it's unfair for me because I clearly have a bias against just the format, just as the idea of the media form. So, like, it's not to do with it, but just in terms of talking about my enjoyment and stuff, is I went through it twice, and like I said, I respect aspects of it. I think it's a neat idea, and I'm glad it's short. But I don't...
It just doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah, and I also just don't really see why... Because this was, like, huge, right? Like, from what I gathered when I was looking it up, like, this was a massive success.
Yeah, particularly. I think that's fair. Like, anything that manages to start off Broadway, even if it's in London, which is obviously a pretty big theater market as well... but cross over and go to Broadway is a pretty big deal. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I was just struggling while I was watching it too. Ian, your arguments for it have definitely made me think about it a little bit. But I'm still kind of looking for what is here about that. You know, like that. Like, what is this that made this? Is it just that it's just the vibe of it? Is it just like it's just like the fun of it? And I'm trying to look for something deeper where there isn't. Is probably what the case is. It's just people liked it because it again it's the Hamilton thing.
I mean, it's got catchy fucking songs. That's a big part of it. Like, you can legitimately, like, hum and sing along to "Don't Lose Your Head," and it's quick, it's snappy. Again, I fucking know the words to the song, man. Like, it's just it's doing pop songs too, which are inherently, like, catchy and earwormy, you know. So I think that's gotta have at least a part of it. It's not like your typical musical thing where, like, Hamilton's got good songs, but, like, unless you're really into the musical of Hamilton, you can't really play a Hamilton song on the radio, whereas you can probably get away with playing a couple of these on the radio if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and that almost goes to my point, though, and I guess it might just be an experience with it, is because of that, I was like, so why is this a musical? You know, like, why does this have to, again, they've got the concert thing, but, like, this could have just been, like, an album, like a themed album.
And I mean, I think you could get away with that. I think I always miss the... Like, I don't like just listening to musical soundtracks because I always miss the cutaway moments that they don't put in. Not just, like, the stuff in between songs, but, like, the stage version of Don't Lose Your Head is so much better just for that break of like in the final thing before the final chorus where she just like stops the music and goes, guys, you're seriously gonna cut my fucking head off. I guess he just likes my head. Like that's a really good moment that you don't get in the studio version. So there's that, but I guess I see your point.
Yeah, so like again, I don't want to be mean, and I'm trying to stay out of women's business.
Stay out of women's business, man.
Exactly. But I'll just say overall, I can see why people like it. I don't see necessarily why it has such a big kind of thing, but again, it's just not my bag. So I'm happy to leave it. I'll give it just a personal enjoyment. I'll give like a 2 out of 5 wives, and for just general quality and production, I'll give a 3 out of 5 wives, just because I think it's very not a bad time, but nothing spectacular for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly not as impenetrable as a lot of musicals can be. You're absolutely right about Hamilton. I mean, Hamilton does have a lot of catchy songs, but there's a lot of them, and it can be difficult to just listen to one out of context sometimes. Whereas this, it kind of doesn't have that problem, because you can really listen to any of the songs on their own, because it's just the song of that particular character, that particular wife. And so I think that, plus the really over-the-top characterizations and costuming, I don't know, I think it taps into that same, like, K-pop stan mentality that a lot of people have. Like, I think it taps into that same thing of that, like, pop star stan, and I think it appeals to I think it's appealing to a very like specific kind of person, and I think for those folks it probably hits like really, really well. For me, it has hits, it has misses. I like it a little bit better on talking about it. Some of the ideas I think are cool. I wish they could have done with a little bit less explicit in-your-faceness when it comes to spelling out some of the ideas near the end. But I do think that what's here works for what they're trying to do. It's just not fully for me. So I would probably give it like a 3 out of 5. I don't know. Ariana Grande ponytails.
There you go. All right. Well, I mean, fair enough. I wanted to talk about it. You guys wanted to shit on it. That's fine. It's not gonna take it personally. Not gonna turn the intro that we talked about with Matt into like, I don't know, like drawing penises on him or something. Wouldn't do that.
Joke's on you. I'd be into that.
No.
Exactly.
You don't want
make
penises
it
drawn on you, Matt. You would like penises on you. You would not like penises drawn on you.
Oh, okay. Well, fair.
All right. For me, yeah, I do legitimately enjoy this. I think this is absolutely fantastic. I downloaded the YouTube slime tutorial.
Named so to avoid copyright claims, I am sure.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's funny because you could like, there's the timestamps and it tells you like green slime, yellow slime. So I downloaded it because just things like this are so hard to get a hold of, and you never know if there will be like a like stage recording, proper one ever done, if this will ever get like a film adaptation. So I made sure to save this, and I do plan to watch this again in the future, and I do legitimately enjoy this. This is great. Top 10 musicals there. How's that? So I'll give this 5 out of...
I disagree.
Yeah, I'll give this 5 out of 5 songs about wearing yellow to a funeral that I really wish I could have heard.
Number 3,
yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Ian Harrington says that 6 is in the top 10 musicals of all time. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's better than Rent.
I mean, that's like
Number 2,
literally everything.
Rent. Despite some objectors, Rent is objectively the better musical than.
I will punch anyone who says Rent is objectively the better musical than like literally anything.
Number one, literally anything.
There you go. There you go. That's it.
Oh man! All right. Whose turn is it? Is it Alfie or Matt?
I
Matt.
believe it's Moi's turn.
Well,
Yeah, boy.
Moi isn't on this show, so whose turn is it?
As his liaison, I'll take the hit for this one. So it's like a discussion topic, right?
Yes.
Have you done?
Dude, I really don't care about doing a part 2. Like, Geeky Gentleman's almost 10 years old.
Wow, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Because it's in his name. Well, hey.
Geeky Gentleman's like 10 years old. I will do a whole nother hour and a half long discussion on stage magic, and I've already done it
so
twice.
We're now Geeky Gentlemen post-crisis.
Yeah.
Sick. Well, anyway, let's do mystery stories and mystery fiction, like what we like in mystery stories, what we how we think they should be written, and in general our preferences for those kind of things, our favorites and such.
Mystery stories. All right. Cool.
I feel like this is because I said I didn't like Sherlock.
No, it's because we were talking about Spencer and Locke.
Ah, yeah.
It made me think of that.
That thing I made us read.
Yeah. Come on, Matt.
You bastard. Oh.
I...
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Until next time, everyone, I'm the philosopher.
I'm the historical Renaissance erotica lover.
I'm the champion of the oppressed, and also I love Steve.
Aw. And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
Now